Alright, so let's go ahead and move on to the couch. Now in this section, I've added 3 grade nodes. The first grade node, this grade node was used to darken out the couch. So here in the lift section, I've dropped it down so that I can adjust the shadowy areas and push that out a little bit more. I've also dropped the gamma down below 1 so that it darkens out the overall couch. And what this does is going to help me push the value back up into my second grade node here. As you can see in my gain, I've increased the value over 1, so it's going to be like a 2.3, 2.4, and that's basically going to push out my highlights. So this was before and after. Through the multiply section, I've given it a slight bluish cyan tone to the couch itself, and basically doing it through the multiply, it's going to give you a constant for the rest of the values here to multiply against, and that's why I did it here. And then I pushed the gamma of that slightly above 1, so maybe like a 1.2, 1.3, right around there, to push out those values a little bit higher. Okay, so let's move on to the third grade node. Now in the third grade node, I'm using the mask option. Okay, and through the mask, I have it hooked up to a roto node and a blur. First, let's talk about the roto node. If you tab roto, you'll get this node. So double click your roto. Here on the far left hand corner, you have 3 options. The very first button is a selection button. This is going to allow you to select shapes, select points. The second button is going to allow you to adjust that shape. Basically here you can select by adding points. You can also smooth out points. So this section is just to manipulate the shapes that you have. The third button is where you're going to create your shapes. You can choose an ellipse and rectangle, which those are already pre-made shapes using B-splines, or you can create your own by using the Bezier. Now how the Bezier works is by points. So right here I'm just left clicking and I'm creating points, and I'm creating this pentagon looking shape. But if you look at my grade node and my roto, I'm using it to isolate the highlighted areas of my pillow here. And the reason why, you can consider this like a stencil. Basically through the mask, I'm isolating that section here through the multiply and adding in that red, nice orange color that we would see coming from our window. I'm hitting Q to turn the roto shapes on and off. With the roto shape there, I add a blur node. Without the blur node, you'll have something similar to this. With the blur node, I'm basically just spreading out those values. So that's without the blur and with the blur. And through this blur node, I've really increased the size by a lot, maybe around like a 30 or over a 20 mark. And then after all of this, I've defocused it just like I did the background, just to push it away from the main actress. So with all of those together, you should have something similar to this. Okay, and that's the first 3 sections of this comp.